Welcome everyone to the podcast. We do have a sister in Christ, which is Tiffany, who also is in real estate and is going to offer some great advice and even her own background, her story. And I always say success is not always loading for her because we don't know where she's going to go in the future, but she's going to talk about where she's at now. I wanted to ask you, Tiffany, what got you started in real estate?
Thank you for having me, Peter. Good to see you. Let's see. I got started by taking a class at a community college. I just had an interest in learning about property. I was like, well, I kind of want to own a home. Let me see what I can learn and figure out about the home ownership process. And then from there, I started to develop a relationship with one of my professors who encouraged me to take another course. And I was like, I don't know if I want to keep going in this. So I took another course, and then I kept having conversations with friends and family about it. And I feel like things just kept moving forward. Mm-hmm. And then the conversation became, well, why don't you get your license? And I was like, well, I don't want to be a salesperson. I don't want to sell anything. I just want to invest. And then I was like, well, it's not that many courses, so I might as well finish it. So I got licensed, and then I ended up working as an assistant. And I just feel like God just kept moving things forward for me. So, and I had no intention on becoming an agent, but I think he continued to open doors, which made it clear for me.
Speaking on that, what made you kind of stay to remain an agent? Because now you said you had your doubts about it. Was it, I heard you say sales. Was it you didn't want to be that person that?
I did not want to be the person hassling people.
You said hassling?
Yeah, you know, people try to sell you stuff and you're like, I'm not interested, you know. I didn't want to be shut down like that. But I think the thing that kept me in it was, as I mentioned, like the reassurance from God, like him opening an opportunity as an assistant first just to get exposure in real estate. And then I started to see, okay, this is something I feel like I can do. Now that I am an agent, I realize it's not just about selling people something, but I get to play a role in helping people become homeowners, and then also assist people who are currently own homes with selling, you know, and maybe going into a larger property, buying investment property, etc. So I think there's a bigger picture, and then also it's not sales. It's a relationship business. And I think I'm a very relational person. So I think that helped a lot.
I like how you
once I learned what it was about.
No, exactly. I think people can have a bad rap about sales because of, I get it, like the gimmicky thing, but I think you added the personal side to it, that it's the impact behind what you're offering the home. And I think you personalize your interactions with people that you offer the homes to. And so I think people can forget, like, you're not just trying to, obviously, I think everything here, you're going to try to make money. That's just how it is. So people shouldn't have that, but you're also adding the added benefit to you. What do you feel like for yourself in this industry separates you from, like, say, other competitors or other real estate agents?
That's a good question. I would say, I think I'm me, to be honest. I think I don't really worry so much. I mean, I'll definitely learn. There's a lot of great agents, and I learn a lot from different agents in my office, or with our brokerage. But I think for me, I think going back to the relationship piece, I'm a very relational person. I think I can pretty much become friends and build trust with most people, because trust is important with doing business. And I think also I'm very thorough in how I conduct business. So like when I work with first-time buyers, it can be an overwhelming process in buying a home. So being able to help them navigate, to understand the process of buying a home, how to make a decision that's best for them. You know, so really, I'm really good at guiding my clients, not telling them what to do, right. But guiding them to make the best decision for them. The same on selling someone's home, you know, what's the best price to list your home? When should it go on the market? What expectations should you have as far as what it will sell for? So I think I do a really good job with guiding my clients.
Yeah, and even with that being said, you were saying that they could feel overwhelmed. What are a few details that makes a first-time home buyer kind of be overwhelmed with it?
Well, I think recently, I work with a lot of first-time home buyers this year, and you know they've worked really hard to save money. Living in Los Angeles is wonderful, but it comes at a cost, which is that down payment. And even putting 5% down on a home can be a lot depending on the price point. And so I think it can be overwhelming when you've worked hard and then you see your money coming out of your bank account to go towards the purchase of a home. So again, educating them, you're not losing money. You're just taking the money you've saved and now you're rolling it into an asset. So now you still have the money available,
right,
but it's tied up in an asset. So when you need to access it, you can. So it's things like that that can be overwhelming. And then it's a lot of paperwork. Looking at a lot of properties and getting outbid. You don't always, most of the time I would say in this market, you're not probably getting the first offer accepted that you put in on a home. So that can be exhausting.
With the bidding process right now in this time, what do you feel is like the hardest part about it? Like what can get your clients in?
I think being competitive. So during the pandemic, we saw a lot of properties going well over the asking price. And that was because a lot of people were coming in with cash.
That's crazy.
And so a lot of people were being outbid because people had cash to pay. So there's something called an appraisal, which basically assesses the value of the home. And say you're going into escrow at $400,000 and the appraisal comes in at $480,000. Typically, you can say, okay, can you adjust to the seller? Can you adjust the purchase price to $480,000? But during this market, people were waiving that and saying, whatever it comes in at, we'll pay the difference. And so the people who couldn't afford to pay the difference, they got outbid. So we saw a lot of that during the pandemic.
And isn't like how it used to be where you could like write a letter directly to the homeowner or?
So a lot of that's changed with fair housing laws too. You have to be careful with writing letters to sellers now because they want the choice to be strictly on from a financial standpoint. So not about how many kids you have, not about like any status, not your, I don't know. I would just say family. That's probably the easiest thing to say. Yeah, so you can't say, hey, my daughter and I are moving, we need a home, because that can pull on the seller's heartstrings. Yeah. So it's more so, hey, we have strong job security, I work here, etc. So
what adjustments would you make to make it fair for, like, say, families looking to purchase these homes, but they keep getting outbid every time?
I think for me, with my clients, it's always educating and setting expectations. So when looking for homes, say you're pre-approved up to $500,000, because things have become so competitive and a lot of properties are going above the purchase price, I would say we probably shouldn't shop at $500,000. We probably need to shop at $450,000. So you have some room to go up to compete, so you're not being crushed every time you're making an offer. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
And even for you, I know earlier you were mentioning in the podcast about kind of like God led you into this industry that you're in. How much of a role do you feel like God has kind of implemented, or how did that start your faith walk? Yeah,
I've had faith. I mean, I was raised going to church. Was I living the Bible? That's a different story. I got serious about my faith in college. And that's when I really read the Bible and learned what it meant to be a follower of Jesus and to really make him Lord of my life. So that was the time that it started for me. So, I've been on a journey for some time, specifically, I guess, career-wise, because I didn't go into real estate until several years after graduating from college. I would say now, I don't know if this is answering the question, but I don't want to ramble, but I would say now, when I got started in real estate, I think my faith was definitely one of the, aside from support from family and friends, it was one of the things that grounded me, because you got to persevere. I mean, it was difficult. It was not easy getting started in real estate. So I definitely had to pray a lot, read my Bible, and really believe the scriptures, and even, seek God for guidance, because I had to keep going back to, well, this is what he led me to. Like, he's the one who opened these doors for me in real estate. So if he didn't want me to be here, then I wouldn't be here.
I see.
So
I know there's like seasons even in real estate where maybe the market's good or maybe you're able to sell a lot. I'm sure that has a lot to do as well with kind of like how your walk is kind of affected by it, because you're like, man, why am I not selling anything? What's going on? How did that look like for you to overcome those obstacles when you had a really bad season, whether it's career wise or even your own like personal life?
You coming with the questions, Peter.
Thank you.
I would say, when I got into real estate, when I started taking the class I mentioned, I actually was going through a really difficult time personally. I think I was at a point where I think I just felt off. I was off course spiritually, and I think I just felt a little bit lost, which is kind of like, well, let me just figure something out. Let me, I think, I mean, it's a couple ways I can answer this question. I always wanted to make sure that whatever success God gave me, that I kept him as the foundation. So I do feel like it was good. Like it took me like a year to get my first deal, to close my first transaction. Yeah. So I think it was good that things were not easy because I really had to wrestle, and my faith was put to the test in how much I believed that God will open doors. It's very similar to like the harvesting and reaping, and so I had to do a lot of, or planting seeds. I had to do a lot of sowing. That's what it is, you reap what you sow. Yeah. So I had to do a lot of sowing seeds for a long time before I saw the benefit of it. And I think that was good for me because I was able to grow with God and be humbled and really learn to work and to believe when I didn't see things happening, and so I think that helped build a good foundation. And it was even simple things too, like tithing on the little that I had, So how am I going to do if, God brings more money and more transactions? Am I going to tithe if I'm not tithing on the little that I have, So even being faithful in tithing when I really didn't have a lot of money coming in, So I do feel like I was able to continue to build the foundation, but deepen it, in my walk with God. As I was growing my career in real estate. So I think that has helped ground me because now I've had to grow. I didn't just, get clients. I really had to struggle a lot to build my business.
I love that too, because like you're saying, like reap what you sow. Yeah. Just on the idea of sowing, like how did you go about trying to get this clientele? Because real estate is not easy for people that are listening, because you definitely have to have some kind of base first to be able to reach out and get referrals. Yeah. But what does that process look like for you to go ahead and build this base for yourself, customer base?
Yeah. So it took a while. I call it flow. It took a while for me to find my flow. Like looking back on it now, I can identify what it was. But I had a mentor, and he was very helpful. And he was a door knocker. He believed in knocking on doors of people's homes and talking to them about, and a lot of agents do it as well. And so that's how I went about getting my first deal. So I was working a full-time job, and so after work I would get off, go door knock, and then on the weekends I would door knock. And so I did that pretty consistently for I would say about a year. So the first person whose home I sold, I had a conversation with her, talked to her, and I just nurtured the relationship. And then it literally was probably a year later that she ended up calling me, hey, I'm actually going to sell my house, but it took a lot of nurturing.
Crazy too, because you're working a full-time job and building this. That just shows the hard work that you had to put into it. Yeah. And even from that, like, I just enjoy the story that you were sharing, is that you went out and you had to go seek them out. And I think people forget is when you start your own business, because in a way you are, even like real estate agent, you are a business yourself, because you're going out to go and harvest. And it's cool to see, even biblically speaking, that you're out sowing. Right. And even with that, on that note, what do you feel is currently something you're trying to sow right now in your life, whether it's going to be personal or spiritual?
Outside of real estate, I'm trying to work on my health. That's what I would say. I think overall self-care. And just making sure that I'm getting time to rest, because I do think personally, this is just my thought. I think even before I went into real estate and things like that, I kind of had this obsession hustle and do all this stuff. It's about working hard, staying up late, all this stuff, and you start doing it and it becomes exhausting. Burning out. Exactly. And so I think now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, some of that's just overrated for me, and I don't need to kill myself for business or for money or anything. So I want to sow more seeds of creating a healthy lifestyle. Having, I don't know if balance really exists. I feel like I'm always kind of one thing is up, other one's down, then I go to that, and then this is down,
Yeah.
So I don't know if I really believe in balance overall, but I think I can be intentional, like with resting, exercising. I still have my devotionals in the morning, but just creating a better lifestyle for myself with work. Yeah, because I think there's more to life than just working and grinding and hustling. And I think we can glorify hustling, and I don't think it's everything.
It's almost like glorifying the hustle is like almost an idol.
Yeah, exactly.
In a way. And it's almost an escape for people, because I understand it's great to work extremely hard, but you don't get to enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Exactly.
And a lot of people miss that. And I like that you're saying to take care of yourself, whether it's a form of a manicure, pedicure, whatever it is. Yeah. Oh, I like that. I love that. But you hit on like the nail there, is because we need to have that. And a lot of folks are thinking more of like, I'm just going to keep working hard. But when is that ever going to stop? Or when is it enough is the better question. Do you feel like in your philosophy is like, do you think there's a point where like, okay, there's a cutoff amount of money that you should be earning? Is like a threshold to take your breaks?
That's a good point. I think now that I kind of have a flow of my business and I know how to build it and what to do, it's funny, I was having this conversation with my sister. I was like, I don't know how far, I should push to go. Like, I don't want to, again, for me personally, I think success is great, and it can be a scary thing, There's a scripture that says, Lord, help me. Don't give me too little because I'll steal, but don't give me too much that I'll forget you, And I think sometimes I get afraid of having too much success because of what comes with it. And it comes at a cost, and it's like, well, what am I willing to sacrifice? So I'm still learning as I'm growing. So in the conversation with my sister, I love her, she said, I wouldn't put a cap on anything. God opens the door for things, then let him keep opening those doors. So I think that's kind of what I'm rolling with right now, is just following God's lead. Like, and that doesn't mean I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to keep pushing, and, because I do believe that God wants us to be our best. I think he's put all of us here with the purpose, even in our careers. So I like what my sister said. I'm going to just let God keep opening doors, keep pushing for more, but see, where it goes, and then evaluate at the next step.
And I'm just thinking too, 2020 was a crazy year. How was that for you, like in the real estate market during that time?
Things picked up for me actually in 2020.
What?
Yeah, so I actually let's see, I went through a lot of changes. I was actually working on a team, and then I went out as a solo agent. And then I think they slowed initially for me, like the first few months, but then I think a lot of people just started jumping in and buying and selling, and so things really picked up.
Was it maybe it might be a little too much theory, but like, was it like panic buying that people were buying homes during 2020 because of everything that was going on?
I wouldn't say panic. I think the people who had money, who've been saving and who can afford to jump in, did, because the interest rates were low. So people were buying homes in the mid 2%.
That's really good. Yeah.
Depending on their credit. I have to say that because people say, like, oh, they got 2%, So I think the people who could afford it and who had the income, or who were like, oh, maybe I'm not all the way there, but this might be a good time, I'm gonna jump in.
What, even for refinancing too, right? Are you in that section?
So I have lenders, so I don't do anything mortgage related, but I have a preferred lenders that I work with, and so they help assist my clients with the lending piece. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And even for yourself, I know we're talking earlier. You said that you're gonna step maybe down the road, look into doing your own real estate company or something else. You see.
So I do plan to get my broker's license.
Ooh,
yes.
Okay.
So that would be the next step. I'm thinking about starting a team myself. Yeah. So those will be the next two things, I would say. Yeah.
What stood out to you when you said team? What are you looking for as far as a team?
A team? That's a good question. Someone who wanted to join the team?
What I was thinking too is like, what qualities are you looking for to be your team members to? It's for sure strong communication. You definitely need that. But like, what other qualities are you looking for to be like, okay, I can connect with this person really well, and we can move forward?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't have all the details for that. I'm still learning myself. It all depends too. I mean, if they're a new agent, obviously I would have a different expectation because they would probably need training versus someone who has more experience in the business. So those expectations would be different. But I do think morale, and good character overall will probably be the baseline. And in this business, I mean, you have to work very hard, and you have to be able to persevere for extended periods of time when you don't see things happening. I mean, I think people can, see real estate agents, it's a very, it can pay off if you work really hard, but you do have to put in a lot of work to make it work for you.
And you're mentioning expectations. I was kind of curious about that. Like, how much time do you put into setting expectations with clients or even other folks that are kind of curious to purchase a home? Because I know expectations, if you said something, like you said right now, you're like, oh, I shouldn't say the interest rates are this amount because it sets the expectation of like, oh, shoot, she's right, I'm going to reach out. But then how much of a role do you think that plays into, approaching clients?
I think that's an ongoing conversation, to be honest, like through from the beginning, from when you're talking to them, from when they go into escrow and they close, even probably to when they refinance, when you turn them over to the lender. So I think expectations are an ongoing conversation.
And even, how has your experience been? Do you have any stories of where you failed, but then you were able to reflect and like, this is what I can do better?
I'm sure I do. I'm just trying to think. This is what I'll say. I don't have a specific story. I have a few, like, in the beginning. I think I wasted a lot of time with people who were not serious about working with me. And so I would say that was a really hard lesson to learn in the beginning because when you're starting out, you just want to close something and you're like eager to assist people. I had one person, like, I showed a property to, and then the person ended up using another agent to write the offer and close. And then I was reaching out, and then the person was like, oh, I'm taking a vacation. Like, just kept like blowing me off. No. And and then they're like, oh, I have something to tell you. And I'm thinking, well, this can't be good. And they told me that they end up, purchasing a property with somebody else. So, it's things like that where I learned some hard lessons in the beginning and how to set expectations and even filter through people who really want to do business with me and who don't. And it's fine if you don't. I respect that. I had to learn how to navigate through that quicker.
Wow. And do you feel like these, kind of like you were saying that the person kind of went with somebody else, did that ever hurt your confidence in any way during that time?
Oh my gosh. I mean, my confidence, I mean, even going back to the door knocking thing, you door knock, people slam the door in your face. Wow. What do you Why are you bothering me? What do you, I'm not interested, And those are the things I was afraid of, and it happened. But it didn't happen all the time with every door, but it would be sometimes when you door knock and then someone says something and you're just like, dang, no one's really interested or whatever. And so I was afraid of rejection, but the rejection was what I needed to really build confidence and to get stronger and to learn that you're not gonna win everybody, and it's okay. It's okay. And that's how you get to the people who do want to work with you and who are gonna value you as an agent. But I had to learn that too. I had to learn how to be okay with that, and rejection is not the end of the world. You live through it, so yeah.
I know you were sharing a little bit of advice, what you were sharing about rejection. What advice would you offer to someone that is, like, say, trying to start up their own business, having to deal with rejection? What would you share with them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say having a support, like a team of support, is very important. Because I definitely would call my mom. I would talk to my dad, my siblings, and be crying sometimes because, I was having a rough day, or I didn't know, like, when things were going to happen for me. And so I think having support, having people that you can go to help you, who know what you're trying to accomplish, and who you can go to, when you're having a rough day who can help you work through it and talk through it so you can, get going. And I think, like, my family and stuff, they know how to communicate, like, okay, go in there, cry, pull yourself together, whatever, they know how to reach you. And so I think you need people who know how to reach you in those hard moments so you can get going again. So that's what I would say. And then as far as the business, I mean, definitely talk to people who are in the field that you want to be in, maybe shadow them, try to get, I don't know, like a side gig or something in that industry just to kind of get a taste of it if you don't already have experience. And then I think if you really feel like this is what God has called you to, then go for it. Like keep pushing forward in it.
Nice. And I want to say thank you so much for just really sharing a lot of good advice. I have one more question for you. I know 22 is approaching very fast around the corner. What is something that you're planning for that year?
For 2022, I'm looking to get more into working with investors. So that was initially what I got into real estate for, was actually to be an investor myself, which I'm on the path to doing. But I am planning to work with more investors in 2020. Yeah, nice. So kind of broadening my sphere of influence. Yeah.
And before we wrap up the podcast, any last words you want to share? Any shout outs you want to do?
Shout outs. When I think about mom. No. No, I mean, I definitely thank my family for being supportive. My parents, I mean, I am who I am because of them and the foundation they've given me. And so, yeah, I'm thankful to be here. Thank you for having me. I would say anyone who is pursuing something to go for it. I do believe that, if there's something that God is putting your heart to do and you're like not at peace and it keeps coming up, then my encouragement is to pursue it.